Hello everybody, this is Maniac4Bricks, and I'm here today with a Collect-A-Thon video. For those who don't know, this is a series I run every so often on my channel, where I take a look at a toy or video game franchise, usually by wave or year, and discuss my thoughts on it on the whole. I'm not going to go with every single figure or product and talk about it in a regular review fashion, just kind of the general thoughts of it on the whole from what I've collected. I may even throw in there about how my thoughts of them have changed over time, or even if there's some pieces I'm missing, or if there are figures I would like to collect, or ones I don't want to collect, because I don't intend to complete every collection on these videos. It's just kind of the ones that I would prefer, and what I think about them, and what keeps me involved with them. So, for this video, we're talking about LEGO GALIDOR, and yeah, it's going to be a fun one. This was released in 2002 and is regarded by many LEGO fans as the worst LEGO theme ever. I think there are some strong contenders for that, but I digress. This is definitely one that most people recognize when it comes to LEGO history, and in that brief period of the early 2000s where LEGO wasn't doing well and just kind of having ideas out the window, this was one that didn't make it so far. This is something that I grew up with. From age 6 or 7 or so, when these first came out, I had a whole bunch of the original figures. I do have some parts missing for them currently, but I will update about that on the next part 2 of this Collect-A-Thon. I don't intend on getting every single figure, but I do have 1 or 2 more I would like to get, and I will like to show some of these completed when that next video comes out. So, from my original collection, I have Uni, Allegra, Euripides, Nepal, Nick Bluetooth, this thing that goes with Allegra, all of the Happy Meal figures except for Nick Bluetooth, because I got him more recently, Jens, and Gorm. A bunch of these are actually missing some parts, including a leg for Allegra, no pun intended, the Happy Meal version of Euripides, 1 or 2 parts for the Happy Meal version of Gorm, the head for Jens, and 1 or 2 limbs for Uni. And more recently, I tried to go back into these figures just to get a few more that I didn't have already as a kid, and thought, hey, it might be actually cheaper for me to get them in a bulk lot, and it was, than trying to buy the individual figures. Unfortunately, a bunch of them are incomplete, so I will still have to figure out how to get those other parts. Hopefully there are some listings on Bricklink. I don't think it's for every single part though, and maybe there's 1 or 2 LEGO fans or resellers that just have these parts but don't know exactly how to list them. So I want to try to find some way to complete these figures, including the ones from my recent editions, Nick Bluetooth Deluxe, which I'm missing the regular arms and the map for him, but it was one I always wanted as a kid. The Keck Powerizer, I do have him complete, I just haven't added new batteries in him to actually try the video game on the back. Yes, there is actually a mini game sort of thing you can play on him with a small LCD screen. I do have the Gorm head to go with him though. Gorm Deluxe, which is missing 1 or 2 parts, you kind of see one of them in front of him. And Nepal and Shumbul, which I picked up 2 to 3 copies of him more recently. I had one sealed that I sent to Brickset, because he didn't have that figure already, as well as Euripides, and I think the other version of Nepal. And for Shumbul, he's missing 1 or 2 parts on top of him, even though, like I said, I've gone through 2 or 3 copies used of him, still couldn't find those other parts. So as far as all these figures go, yeah, I know why people don't like them. And I'm not saying I'm a big fan of them either, but it's something that I grew up with, and even though I don't remember the TV show that well, it's still something that I had some inkling of trying to get the other figures, just to try to complete the collection. I was always a fan of the original Nepal versus the basic one that I got later on. And even though he does have another part to him that, works as another arm, it's not much. I don't really like the color scheme for him compared to the original. It'll definitely work together a little bit better. I've always wanted the Nick Bluetooth here because I felt like the blue worked a little bit better than the original one, but they're both still pretty good, and I do like the rocket arms that go with him. Or jetpack? I don't really know. But they are projectiles. It's actually 2 or 3 figures that have projectiles here. The other one is the TDM module, which I'll talk about in just a bit. But as far as these figures go, they're really not that LEGO aesthetic that you would see in a lot of other LEGO themes from that time or even today. And they also don't really they're not too compatible with LEGO figures. I mean, most of the joints are connected by pins and pinholes, and they are ratcheted joints. So you could integrate them, but they don't really look that good. They don't have the right design to fit with other figures or pieces. And you could actually attach them onto base plates, because on most of their feet, not only does it actually say the LEGO group, but on most of their feet, it does have the right size for the stud connections to a base plate, but as I've proved once or twice before on video, it's a very loose connection. No clutch power whatsoever. I also think it's funny that they are labeled on their feet. It's like Andy from Toy Story with labeling Woody and Buzz and several other figures on the feet. But I digress. So there are actually a couple of figures here that I am missing from the entire GALIDOR collection. And I actually do want to bring up the merchandise, but that'll be for the next video. But I think by itself, that would actually be some fun. There are actually 4 other figures that I don't have here and haven't already mentioned. Like, I don't own them. The TDM module, also called the Egg, is a nickname for the TV show version. I do not have, but I do have it on the way in the mail. I did find it relatively cheap on eBay, complete, used, with box, with all the parts. So I'm really happy for that, and I'm really looking forward to that being in the mail and having that for the next update. But that might be it. That might be the only other set that I would actually want to get, at least for right now, when it comes to the GALIDOR collection. There are 3 other ones that I mentioned, but they're not ones that I'm really that fond of or would be very difficult to find. 2 of them were limited releases called Tagar and Aquard, and these were actually listed limited edition according to Brickset.com. So it's very hard to find them in a bulk lot. They're usually sold on their own, not very often, and for a lot of money. They're not figures that I really remember that much from the show as far as characters go, and I don't remember much of the show as it is, so I don't really feel bad with skipping over them right now. I think I could still go with these figures as the core cast and be satisfied. There is one other thing I would like to get, if it existed. You see, Bricklink and Brickset have listings for a product called My Car from GALIDOR. This was never fully released. Like, if it does exist out there, it's probably a prototype model. But it was never a widespread product. And this is actually a pretty cool vehicle. It's a bike that has a whole bunch of unique parts to it, like specific molds for that vehicle itself, some recolors of existing parts, even from these figures, and it could offer a lot of options for customization. I think it would be a really cool one to have, and it would be amazing if that ever turned up. But, again, chances are very, very slim. So as far as everything goes, we're looking at very little to talk about with the next update. I will bring in the other merchandise that I have, including the elusive GALIDOR Defender disc, and even the video games and things like that. Maybe we'll even get to play around with the Keck Powerizer and some of the other creatures here. I will have the other models completed with their all parts, and even getting the ones for the Happy Meal versions. I don't have the, like, I've went to the point with some LEGO themes where I would even get the packaging with some of them. And admittedly, I don't have all of the bags that go with the Happy Meal toys, but boy, do I have at least the Jens one. So you get a quick look at it here. Very simple poly bag for that. And usually it did include a mini poster, but I'll talk about that one later. I do not have the Happy Meal bag for GALIDOR, although I know it exists, and I don't know if I want to just get like a reprint of it. I'm not that much into GALIDOR, but it was something I grew up with, something from my childhood, and I still have some amount of fondness for it, just by how they're designed. I do think there's something unique about how these creatures were made. It just didn't work with the LEGO aesthetic, and it's kind of hard to use in whole. Uni is probably the worst out of every one of these. Get your rent hats ready, because, boy howdy, it's great that he has a lot of parts, but he's very complicated. And I tried rebuilding him for this video. I could not tell you how much time it took for me to just look around the images of him from the box art and things like that, just to figure out where pieces go. They didn't include instructions, as far as I remember, for any of these figures. You just had the box to work off of to try to put these together. I could be wrong, maybe I have the instructions lost somewhere as well, but it took me a while to figure out this one. I even had to try to look for fan photos of this figure to get it all together. It's basically a glorified parts pack. And there are a couple parts for each of these figures that are just added accessories so you can switch around, like the robot arm for Nick Bluetooth, or there's like a torch here for Jens, things like that. But, was he a nightmare to put back together. But overall, I think it was actually kind of fun to go back to try to find these figures and even talk with other fans about GALIDOR. It is making a resurgence currently with a few references in the LEGO Ninjago movie, the Ninjago City set, a few April Fool's pranks, and just general fan community interest in it. Even if it's a joke, kind of like The Room, where it's like so bad it's good sort of thing, but it's still something that we can all commune about, and it would actually be fun to share with others. I'm having fun sharing it right now with you guys on YouTube. So thanks for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Look forward to the part 2 where I get the egg and complete these figures. And even show some of the other odd merchandise, and even something from Toys R Us. We'll see you next time with more LEGO videos. And let me know your thoughts about GALIDOR in the comments down below. Let me know if you even collected some of these. I'd be intrigued to know.